Today, I met this woman here at church this summer. I actually saw her, and she has such a recognizable face. I was like, I know you from somewhere. Turns out I don't. But she, I don't know, if you guys see her, like, tell me, like, she just looks like you know her, and I love that about her. And her and I started to get to know each other, and she has an awesome heart for women, and I just knew it the minute I met her. I was like, she's going to speak at MOPS this next year. So if you guys can help me to welcome Miss Katie Kemp. Woo woo! She has quite the story and quite the journey, and I am so excited for you guys to hear about it today.
Hi ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
So to start us off, I just want to warm up with a little game. So I know you're all comfy sitting, so if you could stand for the game, that would be great. Just bear with me, there might be a prize even. Who knows? All right, so the game is, if the answer to my question is yes, stay standing. If it's no, sit down. So, who here is a mom? We're all standing. We are all standing. Okay, who here this morning wiped someone else's bottom other than their own? Pretty much everybody. Few. There's a few that their kids are potty trained, and the mentor moms, congratulations. Who here is wearing either your child's breakfast or your own on your clothing somewhere? You can sit down if you're not. If you still are wearing some breakfast, stay standing. Okay, great, so there's, okay. Who here, so stand back up. Who here has cleaned puke out of a car? Stay standing if you have. Puke out of a car, okay, great. All right, who here is a miracle worker, and you know, all moms know this, when you're at a park and there's some boogers hanging down and you don't have a tissue, and you change your shirt into a tissue, and you just go right in and clean that up. Who here has done that? Stay standing if you have. I'm so proud of you. Good job. Okay, last one. This is the last one. Stay standing if you have cleaned poop off of anything other than a bottom or a toilet. Floors, carpets, hair, anything. Awesome. Okay, I feel like I have a winner. I've noticed this mom right here holding her little guy. She's been standing the whole time. She needs a prize. So I have this little a little hand sign that says "Bless this mess." Yes. So thanks for playing that game with me. Get our blood flowing a little bit, but also we proved that all moms, or a mom, should be represented on that Nat Geo show with Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs. They haven't done a mom yet, so. But in all reality, my start to my motherhood has been really messy. So right off from the beginning, well, I should start. I grew up in Wisconsin, and after college I moved out to Colorado Springs to do an internship at a counseling ministry. And that's where I met my future husband, who we've been married for 11 years now. And right off from the beginning, so a couple of months into our dating, I found out I was pregnant. And within a few months we got married, and within a year of knowing each other, we were faced with parenting a daughter who we'd find out to be that was born blind. And it comes as kind of a shock when you just say it right now, but it's been my reality for the last 10 years now. So I was, 39 weeks pregnant, and I had an ultrasound. They were kind of, seeing that something was going on with her brain. And so the day after she was born, she had an MRI, and it showed that her optic nerves were underdeveloped. So there are no glasses, there is no surgery at this point that will ever correct this vision. And so right away from the beginning, it was a shock, and there was a lot of grief in that and confusion, but also there was this moment where my daughter Hallie was behind this glass, little incubator thingy, and all I could do was touch her hand. And I just remember having this overwhelming feeling that I was made to be her mom. And that God's love was so big for her. And I got to be part of that. And so just like I was created to be her mom, I know that each one of you ladies in here, God knew before time the exact little kiddos that you would parent, whether they're with us or not, wherever they are, wherever you are in your stage, he knew those exact little people that you would mother, and he has a plan for you. And so it started out, and right away at 6 weeks old, we have an incredible school here in Colorado. There's only it's only 5 other like it in the nation. It's a preschool for blind children. So we live 15 minutes away from this school. So at 6 weeks old, I started taking Hallie to this school. It was amazing. I had a community of moms that were also raising blind children. I didn't feel alone. I did this infant program with her, and so began the constant therapies and developmental experts giving a voice into my journey as a mom. And on one hand, I was so grateful for it. I had no idea what to do. I didn't know, how do I teach this child that can't see the world? How do I even begin to explain and show her the world when a lot of it was living in fear, and she was scared of sounds, and we had to really let her explore the world in a way that typical children that are sighted don't, just naturally experience the world. And so there's been, parenting a special needs child is kind of a dance with grief and joy. And so, the grief is always there. It's always this a little bit, it sneaks up on you, like, grieving for how her life is different, right? And how, what loss she has, and how my life is different, and how I have to parent differently because of it. But also, there's been incredible joy. And the first thing Hallie taught me was that that love is a universal language that even if people can't see or hear or anything else can be said about them, they can feel love and that presence. And so our little people, they know that. It's so ingrained in them. All they want to do is just, rush right up onto our lap and just snuggle right in, for the most part, until 2.5 or something. But little ones know that presence, and it's such a gift, and I think it teaches us about God's presence with us. When those little ones come up on our lap, we don't need to perform for them. We don't need to do. They just want to be with us, and I think that's God's heart for us as well. But it took a while for me to understand that, because for me, I was so conditioned that I needed to do for. I needed to prove my worth. I needed to. My production equaled my worthiness. And so often, in the first years of my mothering journey, I would go to bed and every night lay in bed and think, all of the things I didn't do that day. And it was a constant just measuring system that I had myself on, that I hadn't done enough yet. And it's such a almost like evil game, this thing of being a mom, because we're given these little people, and our hearts are like bursting with love for them. And yet they take all of our energy, and they, exhaust us and all of these things, and we don't even get to keep them. Like, it's just this constant handing back. It's a constant handing back. They are brought to us, but it's a constant just handing them back over to God. So, parenting a blind child has had so many interesting parts to it. Like I said, about how I had to explain the world to Hallie. So we were at this preschool for blind children, and it was phenomenal, but we also had to go to a typical preschool to kind of start integrating into the school system. And during one of the first days that we were there, you know, it's kind of that awkward time. Everybody doesn't know each other yet, and they're all kind of quiet and keeping to themselves, and we're all lined up. And at the time, I had also had my son, Carter, and I'll get to him as well. But so Hallie is going down the row, and she's meeting people, and I had to run after my son, and I came back, and I'm seeing Hallie. She's introducing herself to this Hispanic woman that was quite a bit shorter than I am, and I'm pretty tall, so where Hallie would normally reach up to find my stomach, she was reaching up to this lady's chest, and she was, you know, saying loudly, "Oh my goodness, Maria, you're pregnant with twins!" And so that day I got to teach her that when you're pregnant with twins, your stomach is one large bump, not two. So, yes, so they're just funny things. So the next part of my journey, so Hallie was 9 months, and we found out that we were pregnant again. It was kind of a whirlwind beginning there, but God totally knew what he was doing, and he knew that our family needed a Carter, and Carter is such an incredible addition to our family in the way that he is a brother to Hallie. He is so kind and so compassionate and just so empathetic, carries the umbrella over her first every time, you know, is like a gentleman in training. And one day when my kids were naturally talking about the size, shape, and color of different animal poop, they, Hallie was just so perplexed that bunny poop is like small as peas, and she just could not believe that that was, you know, poop that came out of an animal. And so Carter, being the gentleman that he is, he ran out to the yard, he found a whole bunch of rabbit poop and brought it in to show her, and she got to fully discover it, and it was great. But my point is that, you know, it is a, sometimes in motherhood, we don't know why things happen when they do, and just seeing the timing, you know, at first I was grieving the fact that, oh my gosh, I have, you know, a 9-month-old, she'll be 18 months when I have my second born, and it's just going to be overwhelming, but God totally knew the timing of why and when we needed a Carter. So kind of back to my story. So during this season of helping Hallie develop, it really felt like it was this uphill battle. It's like everyone is running the marathon of life, and here we are just pushing this cart uphill, and we never get a break from trying to push to stay up on the developmental side of things. And you know, maybe all of you don't have that same kind of pressure from therapists or different people telling you all the time how your kid needs to develop. But we all have these external expectations, Pinterest or Instagram or any article ever about how your kid should be raised. Right now, as a mom, we have so much pressure on us. And if I could say even just one thing, I think it's not ironic what Nicole shared, because I think that for us as moms to be free, we have to figure out what is the internal story that we're telling ourselves about these expectations. So I want to get back to that point, but in my own journey, I was listening to the lie that I had to do enough to be a good enough mom to get Hallie and my other kids to where they needed to be, and that somehow I would be worthy enough. And my body kind of told me otherwise. So when my son then was a couple years old, my body just started to shut down, kind of overnight with an autoimmune disease. And so there was a really dark season where I didn't know what my diagnosis was. I was incredibly fatigued, and I had kind of random swelling, and I was going to lots of different doctors. And long story short, during this time, I started to see that God was pursuing a lot of places in me, and that it took all of the external mess and chaos and uncertainty to kind of break me down enough to see how his pursuit was after all of me. And so this place where I was really measuring myself, it kind of all came to a head this one day when, well, there's really no other way to explain this, but other than during the time that Hallie was potty training, she would play with her poop. So this is common with blind children sometimes. It's a sensory thing. They're trying to figure out what is coming out of them, and so they just can't help themselves but look at it, and they see with their hands. So that's what had happened. So, so during this time, Hallie was, it was a couple years. So here's Hallie now, and she approved of this message. But so she's almost 11, and my son Carter is 9, and my little guy Logan is 4. But when she was potty training, I had to do everything, even like cut the footies off of pajamas and turn them around backwards and zip up the back. And it was a really messy time. If I left her in her room for a couple minutes, somehow, even if I just had changed her diaper, somehow it was like stored in her, and she'd just save it for when she was alone. So, I don't know if you've ever, many of you have cleaned poop off of other things. That's why I did that test at the beginning, so you know what I'm talking about. There is nothing like a mother's fury that like rages when you know that there is germs everywhere. And so I had so many, I had great cleaning supplies for this situation, and also, the footy pajama thing. But there's this one particular day that I didn't plan ahead, and Hallie somehow for 5 minutes just made a complete mess in her room. And thankfully my husband was home, and so he took the kids, and she always had to have a bath, and I always had to get the wet vac out and disinfect everything and throw toys away, and it was just a mess. And mind you, this is also the time when my body was shutting down. And so here I am just cleaning this up, just enraged and just so angry. And I got it all cleaned up, and like a good husband, my husband sent me away to go work out to blow off some steam. And so I got to the rec center, and I was in the parking lot, and thankfully I don't go to that rec center anymore, so no one would recognize me there, but I guess my face is recognizable everywhere, so maybe you saw me, I don't know. But anyway, so I'm in my car, and just so broken, so angry with God. Not only did you give me a blind child, gets shit everywhere, you also, I'm also dealing with my body shutting down, and I'm just so angry. I'm furious, and I'm crying, and just asking Jesus, why am I going through this? And there is a moment where I felt so gently and so tenderly that he just said, Katie, how much more do I take all of your mess? Time and time and time again. Time and time and time again. And if you hand this mess over to me, the stuff that's going on inside of you, I'll show you. I always take that mess and I use it as fertilizer, and I grow something out of it. And so if you trust me with this, that I can make something out of this, I'll show you. And that was like this turning point. It began this place inside of me where I realized that God didn't want me, he wasn't asking me to be a good enough mom. He wasn't asking me to be a mom that I could prove my worthiness and what I was doing and how much I did and produced for my kids. What he was showing me, what he was after, was much bigger He was after places in me that were broken, and he wanted to see me be a mom that was free. And so I love that you guys have this theme going on in MOPS, because this has been my journey for a long time. And I think that we can't get to freedom until we go through our brokenness first. And there is, obviously a lot more during this time, but I think the thing that my daughter Hallie was also teaching me during this season is that the least shall be greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And she has been my #1 teacher in how God's kingdom works. And like in the world, we are always basing our worth off of how much we do. And I think what Hallie's life keeps teaching me is that there is a place in us that can't be measured, and that's made in the image of God, and that's our foundation. That's where we begin at. That's what God sees us at. And then out of that, out of the places then where it is messy, he will bring life. And so time and time again, I've seen how all of this mess then helped me to bloom. And I don't know what I'm doing on time, Nicole. Will you give me a little? Okay. So, my invitation for us this morning is twofold. I'm wondering, what is it maybe in your own heart that you've put pressure on yourself and expected yourself to be a certain kind of mom? And what would it look like to hand that over and to find freedom in the way that I think that freedom looks like us becoming who it is that we are. So we'll have all of these outside forces telling us what to do, how to do it, but it's not until we get quiet and we spend some time with God, having him lead us into who he uniquely created us to be. So when we're young, we already naturally know how to do this. You know what makes your kids come alive. Maybe it's just getting lost in the play of playing in the sandbox, or maybe it's baking, or maybe it's painting, or whatever those things are. But I think for moms, I think that we have to reclaim our joy in that area. We have to go and figure out what are those things that make us come alive. Because when we're free to come alive in that way, I think then it frees up our kids, because they're gonna have a lot of external pressure telling them who to be, what to do, how to do it. And I think we have to get really clear on who God created us to be. And to bring this full circle, I saw my daughter having all these expectations and this pressure of how to develop and what milestones to meet, and she wasn't ever meeting those things. But what I saw in her is that she has such beautiful joy in life. There's something that just bubbles up in her when she gets to create or sing or these different things that help her come alive. And she was my teacher in this, because it was my invitation that God was saying, Katie, I want to see you do that as well. And with the autoimmune journey, that has been, I've gotten on some medicine and found, a diet and all of those things, and that's been resolved. But throughout that journey, it's made me realize how I had forgotten about taking care of myself. In the same way I was giving my care away, I wasn't receiving that for myself either. And I think about all of us, I watched you all walk in dripping with children and, managing everything. And as moms, we don't need the extra pressure then of all these expectations to know that we're worthy. I just think we need a nap, or I don't know, we need so much extra grace for ourselves, because like the devotion this morning, we're gonna mess up time and time and time again. And so what does it look like for us to let grace grow in us, let kindness grow in us, and gentleness? And in a minute, I'm gonna do a painting, and it's something that brings me to life. But this is not about production. What's been really on my heart for you all is the invitation I feel like God has for us as moms is, number one, letting go of handing over the mess that we are burdened with. What is it? Just name one thing today that you feel like you're burdened and you're weighed down, feeling weighed down by. And then number two is, what is it that you feel like God wants to bring to life in you? What is something that maybe you've forgotten about or abandoned, and He's whispering that He wants to bring you to life in that way? And it's not for anyone's approval, it's not for this external thing, it's for this internal joy that He wants to give us. And I think that if we can be moms that live out of that, I think that we could change our culture and give that same freedom to our kids. So I am going to say a prayer for us, and then we're going to just have about 5 to 7 minutes of time to just do what we need to do and get down to business, because I really want to create space for you ladies to have that moment. And the last thing I forgot to say that I wanted to share is that wherever we most feel God, maybe it's in church, maybe it's in nature, I know for sure that He is as close as you feel Him in those places as He is in the really ordinary places that moms, the mundane places that we do day after day of laundry and dishes and dirty diapers and all of those things. He's there with you, and He's going to show you how to take that mess and come to life and bloom in the way that He created you to do. So, okay, would you pray with me? And then when I do the painting, please feel free to get up and move, do what you need to do. This is going to be a time and space for you all. Okay. Lord Jesus, you always are after all of the parts of us. You showed us what your love looks like when you kept pursuing all the things on the outside, all of the people on the outside, all of the places that, the people that felt isolated. And I think that that's how you work in us. And God, I know it's so easy with the external demands to forget about our own self. But I know that you created this space, this time, this season for MOPS in these women's lives, because you're after each part of them, all of the internal places that they feel isolated or lonely, or that their worth is based on their production. God, but I know today is a marking moment. I know that you love these ladies so desperately, and you want to show them how to be not just a good mom and do all the right things, but that you want to show them what it feels like to be so free in you, to be so fully alive in you, because you bring the dead to life. You bring things out of the ground to burst up and to praise you and to have joy and to dance with you, God. And so I pray that for these women, show them, be with them in the mess of their life, be with them when they're folding laundry, be with them when they're doing the dishes, be with them when they are cleaning and changing their kids' clothes one more time. I just pray that you are there, you are thick with their presence, your presence. Show them inside of them how you want to lead them. Show them that maybe the external parts of their life are not going to change, but that you're with them in every messy part that there is. And so God, I just pray this blessing. I pray that you would bless our mess. In your name we pray, amen.
of passion. That's how I make you. Just let it happen. You're full of life now, full of passion. That's how I make you. Just let it happen. And it calls each one of us by name to come away. And he whispers to your heart to let it go and to be alive. Yeah, he calls each one of us by name to come away. And he whispers to your heart to let it go and to be